Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. So we're going to be doing something a little different today. As a thank you for over 50 subscribers now, I think we're at 55 now. I thought we'd be doing something that I've seen requested a lot, which was a drain life spell. So I thought every 50 subs we'd do some kind of advanced magical ability. So what we'll be doing this one is we'll set it up to where our player will be able to follow the enemy, drain life from them to heal himself. So you can use it in multiple different ways. You can use part of this as a target lock system, or you can use it for a laser gun, have it drain battery instead of refill health, or just a few different things you can do with it. But let's go ahead and jump into it. So I'm going to open up an Owen. This is a completely clean project. All I've done is delete the third person example stuff that comes in it. I'm going to be using the Infinity Blade effects pack for the beam, but it should work with any beam. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my third person character, which I've already deleted the touch input and the whatever that one is, I forget, reset VR or something, I don't know. But I'm going to right click and add an event for right mouse button. And when it's pressed, I'm going to do a sphere trace by channel. The channel I want to do, I'm going to go to project settings, all settings, type in trace to the search bar, and add a new trace channel called enemy, which will default to ignore. Back in my third person character, I'll set that trace channel to enemy. I'm going to drag off my follow camera, get world location, hook that to the start, get forward vector, drag off the world location, vector plus vector off of the forward vector, vector times float. I'm going to set that to about 2000. That should give us good range. And I'm going to hook that to the end. I'm going to set the radius to 20 and set the draw debug type for duration. I'm going to drag off the out hit, break the hit result, and if we hit something with our enemy tag, then we want to promote our hit actor to a variable called drain target. Set that to true, or set that off true. Then after that, we want to set a variable called draining question mark. Turn it to a boolean if it doesn't automatically come out as one. This is my second time recording, so some of it's altered. I recorded the whole thing and then found out my mic wasn't hooked up. Alright, then here we want to set a branch based off of if we are draining, and we want to apply damage. True. Damaged actor will be our drain target. We'll drag off the base damage, promote that to a variable called drain rate, so the rate at which their health is drained from them. Compile, and I want to default that to 1. Then I want to do a branch afterwards and find out. I'm going to set a new variable called current health. Well, that's not how you spell health. Set it to a float, add a new variable called max health. I'm going to set the current health variable to 30 and the max health to 50. But I want to drag out the current health, and if it is lower than our max health, then we want to set our current health to get our current health, float plus float, and add our drain rate to our health. I'm going to set a retriggerable delay at the end, drag off the duration, promote to a variable called drain speed. I'm going to leave it at 0.2. It works for me. And then from my completed, I'm going to drag all the way back to our branch to see if we are still draining. I'm going to add some reroute nodes just so I can set this above a little bit. Off of released, I'm going to drag it back a ways just so it's not overlapping all that. Off of released, I'm going to set draining to false. Let's add a custom event below it called face target. Now for this one, I want to first find out if my drain target is valid. So if it is valid, then I want to set actor rotation of myself to find look at rotation. Drag this back a little ways because I'm going to need to break the rotator and make a rotator on this side. Sorry, my microphone keeps slipping. And I want to connect the Z, only the Z, otherwise our character will start twisting in weird ways. So for the start, I want to drag out my mesh, get world location. I want to drag out my drain target, get actor location, and set that to the target. Then I'm going to add a delay, set it to about 0.01, and then call my face target function again. Up here, right after we set draining to true, which we also need to move this way a little bit and find out if draining is true. So we'll drag a branch or make a branch, find out if we are draining off the true, if valid. Okay. In between the draining, we want to drag out our face target and hook it up like that. And that should be enough to get it. It would help if I create an enemy for us to actually target. So I'm going to create a blueprint class of a character and call it enemy AI. I'll double click and open that up. I'm going to go to the mesh. Skeleton mesh will be the mannequin. Drop it down about 90 and rotate it so he's in place. And I'm going to set his animation blueprint to be the third person anim. In the event graph, I'm going to add a custom event called patrol. Hang on one second, excuse me. Sorry about that. Okay, off of patrol, I want to set AI move to with a branch in between. I'm going to add a variable called moving question mark. Get moving, because I only want this to happen if they're not moving. For the pawn, it'll be self. Destination will be get random point and navigable radius. We'll drag out the mesh, get world location, and set the radius to be about 2000. Off of the empty fire, don't really know what else to call that. I'm going to set moving to true. On fail, I'm going to set moving to false and call our patrol event again. And I'm going to drag this way out here because off of success, I'm going to add a delay. The duration is going to be random float in range. I'm going to set it to about 1 and 3, and then call that function again. Off of begin play, I'm going to set my patrol function to fire. In my volumes, in the place tab, I'm going to drag out a get nav mesh volumes, set the scale to about 20 by 20 by 2, and that should be enough to cover everything. Yeah. And I'm going to drag out my AI just to see if he runs around. And he do. So there we go. He's running. I'm going to target him, go to his mesh, or his material. That's not important. I'd like to change its color, but you know what, we'll do it. Browse to his material. Oh. Right click, create a material instance. Call it enemy. You can call yours enemy. I'm going to call mine enemy 1 just because I forgot to delete the other one. I'm going to double click, set the body color to red. And that's all you really got to do. So I'm going to go back in the enemy AI and plug that in. Compile. Alright, in my third person caricature. No. In the enemy AI, we need to set the mesh, set his collision to custom so that we can make him block our enemy trace channel. I'm also going to make him ignore our camera so that it doesn't make the camera jar around all funky. Get over here. And now he should follow when he runs off. Yeah. So now he's facing wherever he goes. I'm going to lower the enemy's movement speed. So find his walking. I'm going to set it to about 150. Now let's spawn that beam. So I'm going to drag this backwards so I can add a spawn emitter attached. I'm going to hook that up here. I'm going to set in our Infinity Blade pack, it's called Leech Beam. So I'm going to promote this to a variable called drain sys, short for system. I'm going to attach it to the mesh, and for the spawn location I'm going to add a scene component, call it drain from. I like using a scene component because it just makes it easier to customize where it starts rather than trying to find sockets and then figure them all out and all that. So I drag off, get transform, nope, break transform, hook my location to my location, rotation to rotation for location type, keep world position. Alright, now off, we want of course to, once our enemy is dead or if we stop draining, we want to destroy that. So I'm going to move this way. Put an is valid node off of the apply damage. And I'm gonna find out if our drain target is still valid. If he's been destroyed already, we don't want to do anything else. So if he is no longer valid, I'll drag you above. If he is no longer valid, then I want to get our draining, set it to false, drag out our drain system, and if it is valid, then I want to destroy that component. Same thing we want to do off of the released. So I'm going to box select that, Control C to copy it, drag it this way, Control V. Oh, I'll just delete that one. Then that'll set that up. So now it should be, yeah, he's got the beam going and he'll turn to follow where the enemy goes, but the beam goes straight through him. So let's set up the ending point. So in our third person character, we want to drag off here, because you're going to want some distance, because I'm going to drag off the drain system. It's set is valid, and if it is, then we want to set beam endpoint. I want to copy, paste, paste. You want 3 of those. So if it is valid, then we want to do this. And emitter index 0, 1, and then 1 more, which will be 2. And hook the target up to all 3 of them. Drag that back a little bit further. You can box select and hit Q, and it'll automatically line everything up like that. If you're like me and can't stand crooked nodes. So I want to get my drain target, drag off, get location, and I want to add to it. If we don't add to it, it looks like we're just laser beaming the dude's crotch. So I'm going to add about 50 to it and set the new endpoint to that. And if if not valid, I'm going to just hook that directly to the delay. So now, oop, there we go. Now the beam ends right at the enemy. So now let's just make it to where our enemy takes damage. So any damage, I'm going to add for a current health set as a float. I almost said Boolean, but no. And a max health, because we'll set up an enemy bar for them too, or a health bar for them too. We want to get current health minus float minus the damage. Set current health to the result. And if it is less than or equal to 0, branch with a B left click, then we will right click, destroy actor. Good deal. Alright, now in our third person blueprint, let's set up 2 widgets. One called player HUD and one called enemy health. First one I'm going to do is the enemy health. I'm going to drag off a progress bar, anchor it to the full screen, set all the offsets to 0 so it's fully spaced. I'm going to create a binding. I'm going to add a variable called enemy ref that will be our enemy AI object reference. Drag it off, compile real quick, then drag it off, get health. We want to get the current health, get health, we want to get the max health, and then divide the current health by the max health, because progress bars only return a value of 0 to 1. This will make sure you get that. So in our enemy AI, we need to add a widget component, which we'll set our space to screen so that it always faces the screen. Widget class will be enemy health. I'm going to set this to about 30 and 10 just so it doesn't take up too much space. And off of our begin play, then I will drag off the widget, get user widget object, cast to enemy health, set enemy ref, drag off here and do a get a reference to self. This will set the enemy ref in the HUD to be this specific enemy. And I'll just drag this above his head. So now they got health bars. Helps if we set current health. Let's set 20 and 20. So now they're taking damage. Now in our player HUD, I'll drag off a progress bar, scale it out a little bit, set its binding. Our event graph, I'm going to, off of event construct, cast to third person character, off the object get player character as third person character, promote that to a variable called player ref, so that in the percent we can actually get, just like the other one, current health, max health, and divide one by the other. Boom. Current health always divided by max health. You always want the constant on the bottom. So compile that. Check it out. Nope. Okay. One thing I forgot to do. We need to set a begin play node. And then we want to create widget of player HUD, get player controller for the owning player, and add it to the viewport. There we go. Why does it start off? Oh, because, okay. So now, yeah, he's refilling his health as he drains the health of his enemies. Fantastic. You can still move around. You can disable your movement, whatever you feel like doing with it. Or you can change it around. See, no matter where he goes, he'll face the enemy. Once they're dead, he stops facing where they were and goes back to running. So there you go. How to drain their health, add an enemy health bar, and lock on to the enemy's location. Cool beans. So this is, like I said, this is the 50 sub special. We're going to start doing special necromancer spells every 50 levels. So this time we'll do the drain life. The next time we'll do like how to summon a golem that'll be defensive of your character. Then the time after that we'll do zombie minions that you can command to go, like if I want them to go over there and attack, they will, or if I need to call them back to me, they will. But really, thank you for 55 subs at the recording of this, so really thank you. I'm very grateful and very honored. I'm really honestly very surprised too. But thank y'all very much. So I hope y'all enjoyed this one. Have a great night.